when I was growing up, I'm a hello, Brittany. I'm a mid-millennial. So growing up, I'm 36 now, right? Hooters was the thing, and Hooters was a no-go in my family. I don't know about your family. Hooters was a sin. You cannot go to Hooters. Gross men go to Hooters, and women got jobs there to make money off of like sleazy men, right? That's how my mom and dad always felt about Hooters. Like it was gross. It was like kind of trashy, right? And now with the rise and fall of Hooters and the rise of OnlyFans, I thought it might be interesting to jump in this bubble via Business Insider and kind of have a conversation about that business model. Now, before we begin, I just want to tell you this little story. In the neighborhood I kind of was in, we moved to when I was 15. We moved out into the country. There was like a Hooters-like restaurant. It was like for cowgirls instead of Hooters girls. They were cowgirls in little jean shorts and cowboy boots. And my cousin worked there. And I went in one day to visit my cousin and I was like, oh, this place is like Hooters, but for cowgirls. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, it's kind of gross. And she was like, oh, the men here are disgusting. And then she was telling me that the men are so disgusting. They like grab you and touch you. And they're like really sleazy that as revenge, the girls would sometimes throw the cornbread on the floor for the customer and then put it back in the tin and then give it to the customer as revenge. Just pause here. All around unhealthy. Yes. Are we all around understanding that this is like not good? So like first we have a business that brings in sleazy customers. Then we have a business that makes the people who work there feel so violated. They feel justified in like basically poisoning your food. And then it's like, what? Like, and of course, these are just stories. I never saw anybody do it. I have no proof of this. No one ever admitted to me that they did this. This was just a story my cousin told me, said like it happened at the restaurant. She saw it happen. But like, I don't know this, right? But I could imagine it. I could see it happen. Now, I've worked in fast food, but I never saw something like this happen, okay? I've never seen, in all the years I've worked in food service, I've never seen someone taint or mess with food or dirty food or revenge food on a customer. I've never seen that in all my years of working in food industry, but I'm sure it happens. We know it happens. We've seen videos of it happening, okay? So it's just like, that's what I think of when I think of a very specific bubble. And I do think regardless of how you exist in the world, every business has this specific kind of way of doing business, right? Like there are car dealers all over the world, but some of them are more like sleazy or like trashy than others. Like there's like the good car dealer and the bad car dealer. That's how I think of Hooters. There's like the upscale restaurants that might have upscale kind of clientele, and then there's the not so great ones. But even separate from that, because the dynamic is under patriarchy and about serving men and the women serving the men, the question is, can it ever really be good for you? Like people who do bottle service or people who work at nights at bars, like to cater to men. Personally, I don't really think so. And I know a lot of people might think, well, Brittany, what's the difference from OF and people doing bottle service or people working in clubs to cater to men? I think the difference is that OF at least allows you, even if you're not going to make as much money, because you don't, right, to at least post content you love, and it might garner an audience who happens to be men. But if your goal is to capture the attention of men through sex, there's only one kind of man that's going to sign up. You know what I mean? They could claim they're different kinds of men, and maybe there's some different variations of men. But if your focus is to cater to men, it's like a very specific kind at the end of the day. And I do think like for me, that just ruins it for me personally, you know? So again, the question you have to ask yourself before engaging in this kind of bubble is, why am I here? If it's to make the most money possible, well, okay. Or if it's just because I like the medium, there's a conversation there. I also saw a TikTok the other day of a waitress who said, never again am I not wearing a full face of makeup as a waitress. Even as a waitress, because the world is so used to women, quote, wearing makeup, and when we don't, we look tired. Like, if you don't wear makeup as a woman, right? Even though men don't wear makeup, men can look awake without makeup. When women don't wear makeup, people literally think they're bitchier, tired, cranky, and you will make less money. So as much as we want to live in a world where people are like, oh, I really value no makeup on women, that is maybe true in some small bubbles where this doesn't matter. But in these bubbles where there's like high performance expectations, you know what I mean? Like they expect you to put on full glam. They expect you to look a particular way. They expect you to do a certain thing. And it's also, it relates and I think coincides with this like kind of man that will say things like, oh, I love a woman with like no makeup on. And the woman's wearing like a full face of glam, but he can't tell. It's like that's kind of the point. But also, you know, it in some bubbles, it's weird being progressive and queer because like in our bubbles, we're wearing full glam or full makeup, but it has nothing to do with like appealing to men's sexual arousal or something. So it's so different than the straight bubble where women are wearing faces of makeup to appeal to men. So it's just like, it's weird. It's not the makeup. It's like why we're wearing the makeup, you know? And also, to be fair, the kinds of makeup like queer people wear is less appealing to the basic heterosexual man. So there's also that plays a role in how we digest and understand the aesthetic. But okay, I just thought it was interesting and I want to talk about it today. So let's go ahead and get into the Hooters of it all. I have it at 1.25 like normal. And just before I begin, Chess says the parents bringing their babies to Hooters and acting like they're attracted to the waitresses. Oh my gosh, like the people who say Hooters is a family fun restaurant or a family restaurant, I'm like, girl, okay, we come from different families. Okay, we're coming to different, like we have different families. Okay, we come from different families. Okay, let's go ahead and give this a go. This is Business Insider.
Since 1983, customers have flocked to Hooters for wings, beer, and the waitresses. And for decades, that combo seemed unstoppable. By the mid-2000s, Hooters had its own calendar, casino, and airline, and operated over 450 locations in nearly 30 countries. And the servers?
Sometimes we could walk away with stripper money.
But what most people don't realize is that Hooters wasn't one company. It was two.
Oh.
In 2025, the larger one filed for bankruptcy and closed dozens of restaurants.
They started making some changes that we warned them not to do.
Now, the original founders are stepping back in to try to rescue the brand.
The brand? Does this brand need to be rescued? I'm not sure this brand needs to be rescued is the problem.
How did one of America's most famous restaurants lose its mojo? We went to the original Hooters in Clearwater, Florida, and spoke with people who've been with the brand since the beginning.
I'm Lynn Austin. I'm Lynn Austin. I'm Lynn Austin. I'm the original Hooters girl.
Legend has it this Steve Martin bit inspired the name Hooters.
Yeah.
And I believe it's derogatory to refer to a woman's breasts as jugs or golden bozos. And you should only refer to them as Hooters.
Hooters opened its doors in 1983.
When Hooters opened up, there were only really a few other places in the country serving chicken wings.
Ed Drosty is one of the original founders. He and 5 other close friends set out to build a casual...
First of all, love this vibe, not this picture vibe. Love the 80s glasses. Love the mustaches. I love the ridiculousness of it, even if I hate the business model. Chad said, I don't understand the makeup thing. How is it sexual? I see it as beautification or hiding skin imperfections, but I don't understand what's sexual about it. It's not sexual. It's attractive. There's differences, guys. Most humans are not sexual first. They're attracted first. Okay. That's why like ankles aren't sexual. They're attracted to the underlining like idea of what else could I see, right? It's not like people jump right to sexual. They're attractive. Makeup makes you look more awake, like you tried. In the same way that like, you know, I prefer, you know, a groomed person versus an ungroomed person. I am more attracted to you the more groomed you are, period. Like the less groomed you are, the less attracted I am to you, right? So I'm not getting wet because you're groomed. I'm becoming more attracted to you, which for me, sexual feels like boner. I'm not getting a boner because you put on makeup, but I am more attracted to you because you put on makeup. But that's not Brittany speaking. I'm not meaning Some people might be, but Brittany is more attracted to people when they've groomed, right? But I'm not like, you know, so that's how I think of the difference here.
Family-friendly restaurant that would make you feel like you were at the beach.
We said, man, if we could combine that atmosphere and food with the fun and carefree environment all in one deal, we might have something there.
Except that at the time, none of them knew how to run a restaurant.
Most would claim we still don't.
They wanted to create the go-to spot.
I mean, how good is the food really? I've never eaten at a Hooters, and I'm proud to say that. So has anyone been to a Hooters, and is the food any good?
For people to watch.
And what would you compare it to?
Games with beer and wings served by an all-female waitstaff.
When it comes to the Hooters girl, we collectively came to the point of that would be the star of the show. We just didn't realize how much.
Ed discovered Lynn when she won the 1983 Jose Cuervo Bikini Contest.
I bet my partners that I would hire the girl that won the bikini contest.
His secretary came running up with a soggy business card and said, my boss is going to open a restaurant and we would love for you to be, you know, involved. And I'm like, yeah, right.
She went on every billboard and went on to be just pretty much internationally famous.
If you like what you see here on the outside, you're gonna love what you'll see on the inside.
At the center of it all was the Hooters uniform.
I mean, I get it. First of all, super cute photo, just in general, from the one girly to another. She's beautiful, right? Like, love the aesthetic, love the hair, love the vibe, but also I still don't love the underlining message. Like, I still am not a fan of, when I was coming out of conservatism and I was getting more into sex positivity, I love the idea of going to like a club or a bar. You know that scene in Breakfast at Tiffany's where Audrey Hepburn is sitting at the strip club and the girls stripping and they're just having a conversation? I used to really romanticize this idea of like, can there be a space I can go into where there's a performance happening? And yes, to conservatives, it's sexual, but to more progressive people, it's just like kind of more artsy. And the thing is like, Hooters isn't art. It's just objectification. And it's like sexual objectification to the point where like the men start to feel entitled. Can there be a space where people can be performing? It's not objectifying. You do not feel entitled to the performers, but you feel like you're getting dinner in a show. Now, obviously, I've gone to tons of burlesque shows. I've gone to tons of BDSM shows. I've done and explored different bubbles where I do think it's possible to do these things, but you have to have a very, very, very self-aware audience. You have to have an incredibly aligned audience with your values. So to create the atmosphere, because it's a shared experience. Okay. The people in charge have to have the right idea. The people coming in have to have the right idea. And that's how you get the performance to be respected. And you sort of like, encourage a good atmosphere. And when one of those isn't aligned, it can be a lot harder.
Uniform, modeled after popular 80s athletic wear.
I tell people in the 80s, dolphin shorts were big, running was big.
It's sporty and it connotes what we're trying to create, the beach.
So the uniforms, yes, they were revealing, but not to the point where you'd feel strange bringing a kid into the restaurant. That balance was really a big ingredient in their early success.
But in the early days, bringing in customers wasn't always sexy.
Hold on, let's pay attention to that. So they strategically said it was okay. Let's go back.
Create the.
I tell people.
Though I think it's true that the clothing in and of itself isn't necessarily inappropriate for kids, I do think the underlying model of the business is inappropriate for kids. Like, you don't want kids in a space where the women are posing a certain way, acting a certain way. Because, like, again, it's not that they're wearing bikinis on the beach. It's how you act with those bikinis. It's not even that you're topless. Like, in Croatia, there's topless beaches here. Men in Speedos, kids everywhere, naked kids everywhere. There's naked kids everywhere here. The amount of naked babies I have seen in Croatia is just wild. But also, they're babies. And if this environment is safe, then like it should be safe enough for your kids to run around naked. You know what I mean? You shouldn't even be. That's the problem. Is like we're so fucking, the human beings are so evil that we don't even know how to make a safe space for kids, right? So I don't, though, think it's appropriate to bring kids to a bar where there's a female staff, where the women are the focus, and where the women are, giggling, then I don't like that. Yeah, and it's literally called Hooters. It's like literally called Hooters. Like, I just don't see what this has to do with it being good for kids. Like, I don't like it.
So the uniforms, balance was really a big ingredient in their early success.
But in the early days, bringing in customers wasn't always sexy.
There's a chicken costume over here that out of desperation, I went out and stood around in traffic to wave people in. I saw a boat sunk that everybody on the causeway was driving by. I swam out and painted Hooters on that.
Oh my gosh.
The founders also used their biggest asset to amplify the brand, Hooters girls.
Hooters' success is complete.
Just to have a team where there's Hooters girls, we're already off to a bad start in terms of children and in terms of families. Like, you can't have a business that's like, oh, the girls are coming, and have that not be objectifying. So absolutely not, right?
Really, due to marketing. It was off the wall. I mean, it was just everywhere.
It wasn't long before Hooters caught the attention of the restaurateur Hugh Connerty, who later helped develop Outback Steakhouse.
Wow.
In 1984, he struck a deal with the founders to take the brand nationwide. The deal gave the so-called Hooters Six the right to continue owning and operating locations in and around Tampa and Chicago under the name Hooters, Inc. And in exchange for a 3% royalty, Connerty could open branches everywhere else. Those would become part of what's now known as Hooters of America. Essentially, it created two chains, one owned by the founders, Hooters, Inc., and the other by the franchisor, Hooters of America. But Connerty needed more financing to scale up. So he turned to his friend Bob Brooks, who is largely credited with the expansion.
But he also began to push Hooters in a more
It's just so funny, like, because growing up the conservative bubble I grew up in, obviously we couldn't go to Hooters. It was like super anti-Jesus. Like, you can't go to Hooters. But they're so afraid of drag queens. Like, I do think the same conservatives that are willing to go to Hooters and take their kids there wouldn't let their kids be read books by drag queens. And that's the weirdness. I think if you're consistent, you don't do drag queens or Hooters, fine. But I think like drag queens are not inherently sexual. So also we should deconstruct that. But I think like the people that think drag queens are sexual and reading to their kids, but are willing to bring their kids to Hooters, it's like, what is this? You know, what is that?
explicit direction, and that did create tension between the two sides.
As the chain grew, so did public interest in Hooters girls. In 1986, the original founders had an idea to capitalize on that interest.
But I also think, because I watched that documentary, the cheerleading one with football girls, those ones, I think it's weird that they have calendars. And I actually do think it's weird. Like, listen, I do think without patriarchy existing, like women would like to see pretty women be pretty because we love girls. Like, it's even straight girls, like we love girls. We would have girls up on our walls. It's not like we wouldn't. It just be the why would be different. You know, the why would be different. Like, if I had, like, one time I used to subscribe to Jessica Negri's Patreon. I loved her videos because I was like, oh my God, they're so pretty and there's so much glitter and the costumes are so good. And I know she makes her own costumes. But I know that most of the men signing up there are like objectifying her. But I know there's a clientele because I know I'm one of those people that, like, I don't have to even objectify you to just like, oh my gosh, I know what went into this. You know, I know how much, and it also looks good. Like, yes, there's one thing about feeling pretty, but it's the way people objectify you. You know what I mean? Like I definitely would not have married somebody who was like, I don't think I could have, I know I could not have married somebody who was like the kind, like I could marry a man or a woman, honestly, any gender, who was like, has like a calendar in the house that they are just like gooning to or something, or like masturbating to, or like they're getting it for the weird reasons. You know what I mean? I'd be like, why are we having this? Like, why are we buying this? You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing for my partner and I to both be like, oh my God, I love her clothes, or I love her, I love the art, I love the, do you know what I mean? But I don't like the sleaziness of it. I don't like the icky feeling of it. Like, that's what I don't like. But if you have like a cool pinup in the house because you're like, oh, it matches the vibe, it's cool, I'm okay with that. But it's like how you're doing it and why that I'm like, I don't want to be embarrassed and be like, you know those girls who are married to those guys that their husbands are kind of like icky and they have to be like, oh, he's like obsessed with her. He's like her biggest fan. And like, he is like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think so.
I don't think any other restaurant at the time had been doing calendars of their actual waitresses, and it just took us to a whole new level.
The calendar wasn't just a new source of revenue, it also attracted more talent to the brand.
It became a recruiting tool because girls knew that it could get them exposure. As the stores built out, we did calendar tours, we did pageants.
It's a connection that's hard to explain because we are treated as celebrities, but we also...
Yeah, well, even the word like pageant too, like I really struggle with the pageantry of it all.
Work our butts off.
That's Marcia Drosty. She's the wife of co-founder Ed Drosty and a former Hooters girl.
Even if you haven't been to a Hooters, you've seen a Hooters calendar, and it's really our biggest tool to reach the public for marketing and also for meaningful charitable things.
By 1991, Hooters had roughly 50 locations.
Like, I wouldn't want my husband, if I had a husband, to be like, oh yeah, this is my wife and she's so hot. Like, have you gotten her calendar? Ah! You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'd be so embarrassed. I would be mortified. Like, the feminist in me would die if my partner was like, oh, have you seen my girlfriend's tits? They're so good.
Across the U.S. And Hooters of America reported revenues of over $100 million. For comparison, Applebee's, which opened 4 years before Hooters, reported nearly 60.
Yeah, it's giving Trump Melania. Trump is this kind of guy. Trump is like, have you seen Melania's tits? They're fucking amazing. Have you seen my daughter's tits? Also love them. Honestly, would love to grab them, but I'm like her dad, so that's kind of weird. But if I could, I would. Like, that is literally the kind of guy that I'm talking about, where it's like, ugh, like it's so gross. It's so gross. And he is exactly that type of man. When he said he wanted to have sex with his daughter, I was like, it was over. Like the fact that I'm so annoyed with my dad because my dad is not this man. My dad is the absolute opposite of this man. That in terms of like I've never seen my dad ogle a young woman. Trust me, I wait. Because I've seen all my friends' dads. I like look at people. I'm like, did you notice that girl? And I will just say like, the two male figures I have as father figures in my life, I have never seen them leer at women. Like I have never seen them, and I have paid attention, and I'm just like, are you looking at that girl? But other girls' dads, I see it. Like I see it, and I'm like, girl, that girl is young. Stop looking at her. So just the fact that my dad was willing to vote for Trump pisses me off because I'm just like, you're not even like him. You're literally not even like this sleazy man. My dad hated Trump my whole life. My whole life, my dad thought he was a philanderer and he objectified women and he was abusive. And then all of a sudden, Trump is, a conservative. And my dad's like, well, I can't vote for a Democrat. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, you know what I mean? Oh, it's so annoying.
Million that same year. Back then, Hooters' rise showed no signs of slowing down.
Everybody thinks it's all girls, it's all atmosphere, it's the music.
But actually, it's also about the wings.
It's the highest ordered item on the menu.
Listen, before I went plant-based, I love me some wings. I live for wings. Even my local butcher, he knew me because I would come in and get like 50 wings and I would eat wings and that's all I would eat. So like, I love wings. I do wonder if they're good though.
Domestically, we sell about 30 million pounds a year, so it's a very critical item.
The recipe for Hooters chicken wings is so secret, even our cooks aren't allowed to know it.
They made stuff from scratch. I mean, it wasn't an afterthought in those early days. The food was good.
You know what they say, sauce sells.
And with every endeavor, the brand stayed true to its slogan.
Delightfully tacky, yet unrefined.
Whether in commercials,
Hooters, where all the big guys hang out.
late night TV,
Hooters chicken wing doc.
I wouldn't turn down a breast, would I?
or NASCAR sponsorships.
Everywhere we went, we revolutionized the market, and that was by necessity.
By the end of 1993, the chain had doubled its footprint, with around 100 locations across the U.S., and Hooters of America was reporting $200 million in revenue. But beyond the restaurant floor, opinions about the Hooters girl and the company's all-female waitstaff were shifting. That year, the National Organization for Women launched a campaign against Hooters,
Oh, shit.
calling it sexist and exploitive.
Well,
There have been Hooters girls who have said they experienced unwanted sexual advances.
Definitely.
There's an inherent risk to it for the women working in those restaurants versus the average casual
definitely,
diner.
definitely.
But some
There's no way that there's not.
early Hooters girls, like Lynn and Marcia, say their experiences were different.
We have a sisterhood. We were all partying together, we're all waitressing together. It was literally family.
It's too empowering to be a Hooters girl for it to feel like we're being objectified.
Nevertheless,
It's too empowering to feel like we're being objectified. Okay, let's relate this to capitalism. There is this idea that if I'm making enough money under capitalism, I'm no longer being exploited by it. But you're almost always exploited under capitalism, even when you're making good money. So there's something to be said about, even though it doesn't feel like exploitation or objectification, doesn't mean that it's not happening. But I believe them that it didn't feel that way for some people, but it doesn't mean it's not happening. Like, look, I do OF and I do it very casually, like super casually, and I really like it. But I've always been, ever since I deconstructed from religion and stuff, I've always been interested in, nude art and nude paintings and being naked. And I have changed kind of the content that I've made over the years, and I've experimented and I've learned how to embrace what I want to do. But I think what's important is that when I do feel objectified, it makes me want to stop the work. But I also feel that way about any job I've ever had, where once I start to feel like an object to the business, I want to quit. And there is that feeling that I think we all feel where we don't want to just feel like a cog in the machine. We want to feel like people and valued. So I don't think this is unique to sex work. I think sexual objectification is specific to sex work, maybe, or some variant of it. But objectification in the workplace is a universal feeling a lot of us feel. You know, a company you put 80 hours a week into, a boss who doesn't respect you, a staff that doesn't care about you, like, it feels like, what am I even doing here? So I don't think anyone likes that feeling, but I don't think we're universally feeling it. I think lots of people feel very empowered by their jobs, feel very good about their place in the universe. Not everyone feels that objectification. So, you know, but that's not to say that it's not happening, but they might not experience it personally, right?
The rise of Hooters in the 90s popularized the term breastaurant to describe chains that built their brand around sex appeal.
I think you can safely say Hooters started this segment. Twin Peaks came later, a bunch of other copycats came later.
If you ask those closest to the original concept, they'll reject the label.
We get it, but we don't necessarily embrace it. And we like to think that we are so much more than that.
People are going to always have an opinion about the way women might dress or the way women might carry themselves or even where they work. But we just don't subscribe to that, and we don't care.
Beyond its reputation, Hooters was facing bigger threats. In 1993, 6 former waitresses sued a Hooters in Minneapolis for allegedly perpetuating an environment in which customers sexually harassed them.
All these lawsuits cannot have been good for Hooters' public image. It was already walking a fine line.
By 1995, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission was publicly challenging Hooters' policy of hiring only women servers, calling it sex discrimination.
It's scary when the federal government says they want to basically shut you down or charge you at the time. I think it was $22 million.
To change our method of operation for 10 years would have put us out of business. And we weren't that big. We were probably 50, 60 stores.
So Hooters did what it does best. It got the public's attention. The company rallied around 100 Hooters waitresses for a march on Washington outside government offices.
Protest, baby.
With all of our girls, what a thrill to look back and see a wave of orange marching for our right to be Hooters girls.
We put a guy on a billboard up there that brought us quite a bunch of notoriety, and we actually won.
In 1996, the commission quietly dropped the case against Hooters due to limited financial resources and heavy caseload.
It became more exposure than we ever thought. Our sales and growth just skyrocketed after that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, I do think they have a right to exist and be the business they feel they want to be. I don't think I'm opposed to them existing. I wouldn't patron them, though. I wouldn't want to. Tilted Kilt also came into my neighborhood when I was younger. I never really went there, but I had friends who worked there. I had people who went there. I think I've been inside of a Tilted Kilt. I don't know if I ever ate there, but I think I have, because I remember visiting some friends who worked there as security or whatever. And like, yeah, at the end of the day, those places are not my vibe. And I do think maybe some people go there. Like I know for a fact that when I came out of religion, there was a feeling of empowerment in Playboy. That I was like, there's something that feels like empowerment here. But what I eventually learned to realize was that empowerment isn't just being naked, it's why you're naked. Empowerment isn't why you make adult content, or not that you make adult content, it's why you make it. You know? So eventually I deconstructed away from even Playboy being empowerment it takes time to go from like one thing to another and to realize like what really is empowerment? Like what is actually my strength? And I think that's a lifelong journey. I'm sure there are things now that I want to do. And I talk to my partner about this all the time. Like, how am I feeling? Am I proud of the work that I make? Do I want to make different work? And, yeah, sometimes like there's a lot of conversations about, you know, I think I'm done with this era of my life, or I'm done with this particular thing. And I think that is what the real cycle is like some people never finish their time at Hooters and most people outgrow it. Because I don't think you can. I think you should outgrow Hooters. You know what I mean? But that's just a personal opinion.
Then in 2003, Hooters of America chairman Bob Brooks tried something few brands would dare. He launched an airline. Hooters Air offered $129 flights to 15 destinations, each staffed with 2 Hooters girls and 3 FAA certified flight attendants.
I wasn't a big fan of Bob Brooks going into Hooters Air because I always said, well, what happens when a plane goes down? You know, but he ran a really good business. They weren't late. They were clean planes.
But the timing was tough. Rising fuel prices and fierce competition from low-cost carriers like Southwest made it difficult for a niche airline like Hooters Air to survive. After just 3 years, the airline was forced to ground operations, leaving behind $40 million in losses.
Running an airline is quite a bit different than running a restaurant.
But Hooters was ready to make another wager.
Man, these men got a lot of money and are super bored. Like, what? That's crazy.
In 2006, it opened Hooters Casino Hotel near the Las Vegas Strip. The resort featured nearly 700 rooms, a casino floor, and multiple dining outlets. It wasn't a winning bet. By 2008, the Hooters Casino Hotel was reporting losses.
Damn, bro.
Yet Hooters sales hit almost $1 billion that year, which wasn't far behind larger competitors like Chili's and Applebee's.
Okay. I want to say something. I want to say something, but I want to say something. Okay, I want to say something, but I want you to know that it's coming from a place of me wanting better for you. And I think you deserve better. I just think you deserve better than Chili's and Applebee's and Hooters as food. Okay? I just think you deserve better. I just think the quality at Applebee's is offensive, and I think you deserve better. I will be humble and understand that I know some of us have eaten at Applebee's, but I will just say, I've only been to Applebee's like once, and I just remember sitting there and being like, I'm sorry, people deserve better than this, okay? I get it. I love a Denny's run at midnight. I love a Denny's run at 4 a.m. I love all of the diner experience, but I think an experience is one thing, and I think a lifestyle is another. So without being classist and without being like judgmental, I just think you deserve better. I think you deserve to know what food can taste like. And I just don't think, again, on occasion, for funsies, you know, who doesn't love a Waffle House? But also, you know, I feel like, I don't know. I just feel a way about food. And maybe I'm just a girly who's been too spoiled by the world and I've eaten too much good food. But when I've eaten at these sort of places, I just feel like you're really missing out. Your palate is just really missing out. Okay, but no judgment. If you really like something from one of these places, if you really like this place, I'm not judging you, right? I'm not. I love it. Like I said, I will go to Denny's. I will go to Waffle House. I will go to a fast food. I will go anywhere. But to make it a part of your life, to make it something like, guys, there are people who eat at Applebee's every day. I had friends that went to Applebee's once a week. I was like, any restaurant in this whole town and Applebee's was your choice? And I know you're saying, well, are you judging them? What if they like it? I know you think you like it. But I promise you, you're settling. Just like that boyfriend you've been dating for 5 years and you don't know what direction the relationship's going. I know you think you're happy. You know? Sorry. Okay. I know you think you're happy. Okay? But I'm telling you. But, you know, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love.
As the brand was reaching new heights, the economy crashed. People were spending less, and the entire industry felt it.
The recession was hard on all full-service restaurant chains. Consumers...
Oh, chat said Panera. Panera is airport food, but it's a guilty pleasure. Panera, too. I went to Panera. Everyone told me, Brittany, Panera is so good. It's so good. I've been there multiple times now, and every time I'm like, do you hate me? Do you honestly hate me that you made me eat at this restaurant 3 times? Like, every single time I've gone to Panera, it's only been like 3 or 4 times. I cannot believe I worked this hard for money that I just spent at this restaurant. But you know what? Again, everyone's palate's different. Everyone has a different relationship with food. I don't know, guys. Give me the mom and pop Indians, you know, restaurant in the corner of a parking, you know, business structure any day. Give me some Ethiopian food any day. Give me some mom and pop Arab restaurant, some, you know, whatever, insert ethnicity here, give it to me, okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, give me anything other than, but then maybe it's because I'm a Syrian and I grew up with a lot of this food. You know what I mean? Maybe that's why, you know? Just give me something. Chess said favorite Balkan food. Well, to be fair, I can't really eat most of it now because I'm plant-based. That's the other problem. I can't eat most of it now. But there's a lot of vegetarian, vegan options in a lot of these places. But yeah, I can't eat a lot of Balkan food. But I was eating chavapi all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I can't eat anything anymore. But, you know, give me something. Give me something with like love and sustenance. Like, you know what it is too? I just imagine what their kitchens are like. Is it frozen? Are you like melting the food in the back? Like, is this real food? Do you know what I mean? I don't know, girl. I don't know. Oh, a potato and onion pierogi? That sounds bomb. I do get this, like, but the problem is like, they're not plant-based. They make everything with butter. So like everything, all the pastries, I used to get this when I was vegetarian for 30 days, or in general, even when I wasn't, I get this like pastry with potato, but it's like there's butter and everything. So it's like, I can't even get, you know what I mean? I can't even get, yeah, it's hard to get plant-based, but they do have restaurant options. Vegan is very much in right now in Croatia, which is good, right? So again, I'm not judging. You know what I mean? Like, you do you enjoy your food, but I don't know. Like, I think there's something to be said about like the quality of life. Like, I am very, very privileged and very, very lucky that where I grew up, the standard of even being lower middle class was like a pretty good standard. Okay. So like, I am incredibly privileged, but I also think the way that I grew up shouldn't be, it should be the default. I also think it's really fucked up that you're living less quality. You know what I mean? Like, that's the problem, is like, I don't know why we're settling for quality and saying like, but that's just how people live. I know, but don't you think the quality standard should be higher? Like you know what I'm saying? I don't like this idea that because you're poor, you deserve bad food or like bad living areas or bad apartments or like bad homes. I don't really buy into that narrative. And so when I say like you deserve better, I'm not saying you're bad for this. I'm saying capitalism is convincing you to settle. That's what I feel like.
Were struggling. They were pulling back on their dining visits, and that hit Hooters just as much as it hit Chili's, Applebee's, TGI Fridays, etc.
Hooters was also facing more competition than ever before, from the rise of fast casual dining to growing rival chains like Twin Peaks and Tilted Kilt, which also employed all-female waitstaffs. From 2007 to 2010, Hooters sales tumbled 7.5%, and the company began exploring a potential buyer. At that point, more than 450 locations still operated in 44 states and nearly 30 countries. The vast majority of those were under the franchisor, Hooters of America. But in 2011, the Brooks family sold Hooters of America to private investors. This is when some insiders say things began to change. Terry Moberly, a former franchise manager, witnessed the brand's decline firsthand. For over 2 decades, he oversaw 4 locations across Indiana.
I'm a bit of a pack rat. I keep a lot of mementos around. There was a convention that would come into Indy downtown every year called the Fire Department Instructors Conference. I purchased a 1959 American LaFrance fire truck. This is the kind of commando marketing stuff that we used to really revel in. You know, what we were selling was the All-American Girl Next Door brand and not being the appetizer for a strip club.
But when Hooters of America stepped in, it wanted to redefine the brand, starting with a new logo and restaurant redesign in 2013.
The HOA guys sterilized everything. You know, the signs that are up on the wall, it's like free beer tomorrow, where it's just kind of a very tongue-in-cheek, and all those things were taken away because they wanted to be more like Applebee's and O'Charlie's.
More importantly, Hooters of America also changed the recipes.
They switched to a margarine-based sauce rather than butter.
They started, shorting the portion sizes. They came through and thought that they'd offer a salad menu, thinking it would attract more female clientele. Again, another misguided decision.
I think that corporate was out of touch with what was going on at the restaurants.
Jardin Taylor began waitressing at Hooters of America locations in 2015, first in Oklahoma and later in Texas.
A lot of the girls that were working at Hooters during my tenure there went on to...
By the way, like, have you seen Red Lobster's redo? Like, the young guy, he's like a young man. He's like 30 something. He came in to redo Red Lobster's like marketing, and apparently he did a pretty damn good job. But I also think you deserve better than Red Lobster. And I think those lobsters deserve better than Red Lobster. When I say this, guys, I'm also thinking about health. Restaurant food is good because it doesn't give a fuck about your heart. You know what I mean? Like, I love a good restaurant splurge, but you deserve better than Red Lobster. And yes, Red Lobster was a major splurge when I was a kid. I remember when our dad would take us there and it was like the biggest deal ever. And it was, but also like if you eat at Red Lobster now and like, that's not good food. You know what I mean? Like, it's just fucking oily and it tastes good because your heart is killing itself, but you deserve better, And I get it's good. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not saying I don't eat shitty food for me and think, damn, I really like this though. But like, I don't think it's good food. Like, I don't think it's healthy or well-rounded or well done. You know, my friend visited me from America and she said, you know what's crazy about pizza in Europe is I can eat a whole fucking pizza and still feel great. She's an athlete. She's like, I can feel amazing. In America, you can't do that. In America, our pizza is greasy as fuck. It's heavy as fuck. It puts you into a literal coma versus you're supposed to eat a whole pizza here. If you come to Croatia or Italy and they serve you a pizza, that's just for you, boo. You're not supposed to share that. It's a pie, but it's for you. And it's fucking, you feel good after. You know what I mean? Like, you can be mobile, you can be active, you do not feel like you're dying. If you watch enough food documentaries about Americans' food, like what we eat, it literally puts us into like a lethargic state of being. We're not eating food that's actually helping us like actually get, that's why when you have a sugar breakfast and then you have a sugar crash, it's like, again, I feel like we deserve better than this. We deserve better than starting off our day with a 3,000 calorie sugar drink from Starbucks. Like, you just deserve so much better than this. You know, you deserve better than this standard. I'm sorry. You know, it kills me that I'm like, you're starting off the day just like, you know what I mean? It kills me, bro. It kills me.
The nurses, engineers, lawyers, the girls at Hooters are so multi-talented.
Oh, I really like her hair.
Nurses, engineers.
Her hair is so beautiful. I wish I had those kinds of curls. I do. I wish somebody would help me make my hair. Somebody make my hair big. Like, I love the bigger, the better.
Lawyers. The girls at Hooters are so multi-talented. And that was a huge misconception, was that we were just ditzy.
Working at Hooters helped Jardin Taylor finance her way through college and graduate school, partially thanks to the company's tuition reimbursement program, which offered up to $1,000 per semester.
I can't tell you how many times I've been in a hospital where when they
now that is using things to your advantage. Good for them. Good for them.
Find out I'm with Hooters, I got to listen to their story, how they put themselves through college.
But being a Hooters girl also meant adhering to a strict image policy.
When I started out in 2015, some of the basic rules were there was absolutely no braids, no visible tattoos, no color on nails. You need to maintain the look that you had the day that you were hired. Girls would come with different color hair, and whether you were allowed to work was at the discretion of the manager.
That same year, a Maryland Hooters girl was awarded $250,000 after being fired for having blonde highlights. Her manager allegedly told her black people don't have blonde hair. An arbitrator later called the restaurant's image policy discriminatory.
I myself pushed back on a lot of rules.
So they want the girls to look, quote, natural? Do those white ladies bleach their hair? Do they have natural hair? Because most people are not blonde, y'all. Like, most people are not blonde.
Rules, more specifically the hair, I had braids all the time. But sometimes they would push back too, and you would get sent home.
Oh my God.
In the past few years, there have been a couple of high-profile racial discrimination lawsuits against.
Yeah, that's the other thing about Hooters I don't like. You're right, chat. Very conservative culture, uprising, unsurprising. No, Hooters is a conservative restaurant. That's why I think it's ironic that conservatives go to Hooters. But it is. When I think of Hooters, I think of Republicans. I don't think of liberals. I think of Republicans.
Hooters that have resulted in settlements of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
From 2015 to 2018, annual sales at U.S. locations fell nearly 4%. Facing mounting pressures from declining revenue and shifting consumer tastes, Hooters of America was sold again to two private equity firms in 2019. Just 2 years later, the company took on another $315 million in new debt, using its restaurants and brand assets as collateral.
Just as it came time for Hooters to start repaying all of that debt, its costs for food and labor started to rise significantly coming out of the pandemic.
Look, in general, restaurant businesses are incredibly difficult to maintain. Most people think the food industry is easy. It's incredibly hard. You know, from everyone I've ever known who's either opened a restaurant or owned businesses, or even the videos I've seen online, like, owning a restaurant is really, really hard. There are so many moving parts to a successful restaurant. And that's why, like, as a business, I could never actually really do it. Like, even though I have a fantasy of like, oh my God, I could make like a vegan restaurant. I told my mother-in-law, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to open a vegan restaurant in Croatia. She's like, do it. Believe in yourself. And I was like, stop. Don't encourage me. And I was like, stop. There's so many things that in my head, I was like, I could be good at this. I already have something I'm good at. I'm good at my job. And I need to maintain this job. I like this job the best. But I was very like, I could do this. I could be successful. Stop.
challenge, right? Inflation took hold, and it was really a perfect storm.
It was one Hooters of America couldn't weather. Management began cutting operational costs and raising menu prices. From 2019 to 2021, the price for 10 wings increased by nearly 14%. In a last-ditch attempt to turn the business around, Hooters of America made the most visible change yet.
We switched to the thong shorts, which, for reference, the difference is this. It's a little bit cheekier, and it caused quite the controversy.
The feeling was that it really alienated female customers, families, and so it was really counterproductive for what Hooters needed to be doing at that time, which is to reach a wider audience.
I think it just got to the point where they overemphasized the sexuality, and that's not what the brand is about at all.
Hooters of America eventually backed down from its uniform policy, stating its waitresses could determine which style of shorts best fits their body style and personal image.
There are a group of people that think that the salacious way to go.
I'm pretty sure I have underwear that looks just like that. Not that, listen, I know my mom, I can hear my mom's voice. Well, why do you wear a bikini, Betsy? It's basically wearing lingerie on the beach. Listen, okay, it's a little fucking different. But okay, but I'm pretty sure I have underwear that looks just like those shorts. You know, boy short underwear, you know what I mean? Boy shorts. But also, I get it, like, okay, but I think like context matters. Okay, like I'm on the beach. I don't want to like have all this heavy clothing in the water, but also I'm at work. You know what I mean? Like, okay, there's a difference.
And the brand is the way to go, which is what the Twin Peaks brand, that's what they do.
And it worked for that chain. From 2022
What's
to 2020.
Chad said Twin Peaks too. I've never heard of that. Oh, Twin Peaks, like boobies. Locked in, boys. I'm locked in. I don't think I've ever heard of this.
Twin Peaks sales increased by nearly 20%, while Hooters sales dropped by 21%.
Oh.
Through all of it,
Hooters does feel pretty dated. Like, even though it's a recognizable brand, it feels kind of dusty. You know what I mean? Like, it feels too dusty. Twin Peaks sounds nice. I would have thought it was like a sports store or like a for snowboarding or something. You know what I mean? But yeah, like Hooters feels dusty even if the business has a makeover. Like, look how nice and modern this building is. It just looks like a Pizza Hut. But even Pizza Hut feels so dusty to me. Do you guys still eat at Pizza Hut? You deserve better than Pizza Hut, girls. That's what I mean. Pizza Hut, it's so dusty to me. I don't like to eat places that it feels dusty. Even if once a year, if I was in America, I'd go to Denny's with my siblings because I'm like, who doesn't like a little dust? You know what I mean? But there's a dusty feeling to it. Yeah, Pizza Hut gives 1992. You get it, girl. Exactly. It's giving 1992, and I'm like, I'm over it.
HOA struggles. The original owners continue to successfully operate their primary locations in Florida and Illinois.
While Hooters of America was going into bankruptcy, Hooters Inc. was having one of the best years in its history.
Welcome, Hooters! Hooters Inc. didn't share exact figures, but in a press release, it said its restaurants made more than double the average revenue of Hooters of America's in 2024, all while maintaining the decor, uniforms, and recipes.
Yeah, I just like wouldn't want to. I wouldn't feel. Yeah, I would not want to go here. I don't care how much they modernize it. I'm not a fan.
Brand was built on.
If the second and third acquirers of our brand had just stuck with the basics, and we were not silent about our views on that.
Okay, yes, Chad said old school feel of Pizza Hut is like a part of the charm for me. It reminds me of going to the theater as a kid, or there as a kid. Brittany, there as a kid. Yeah, actually, it's like Chuck E. Cheese. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, I'm not opposed to going to these places, but I do think we still deserve better. I think it's the place you go when you're seeking nostalgia, when you're seeking like a memory, when you're seeking like oh my God, I did this as a kid. It's not the place you go. It's you know what I mean? It's not like good for you, but it's like an experience. So, okay, the difference between having an experience, like I think having an experience is different than you deserve better to eat better. So I definitely feel like if you're going for an experience, go get it, girl. Because an experience can't be, it has nothing to do with eating well or what you deserve. It's a recreating, it's an experience, it's a feeling you want to have. So I'm all about that, right? Separate from that, oh, and maybe, yeah, that's why I would go to Denny's, is for the experience, for the memory of my siblings and I. Like, I have really cute memories of my siblings waking me up in the middle of the night being like, get up, we're going to Denny's. And that made us feel so free as kids. Like, you know, we're just out of high school. We all have cars and your sibling wakes you up and goes, get up, we're going to Denny's. Like that sounds so empowering, right? You get in the car, everybody's asleep in town. You're driving through the roads and nobody's there. You park at a Denny's. It's just you and like 10 other people. And then you're just like ordering and having fun and laughing. You know, that's what you're doing. Like when I'm going to Denny's with my siblings, I'm recreating that really happy memory I have of, you know, that was what it felt like, you know? And I think that's beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's great. If you know, go create that memory. You know, go enjoy that feeling you're seeking, you know?
They would be experiencing what we are now, and that's record sales.
Forbes reported Hooters Inc. had an estimated annual revenue of over $100 million in 2024. Meanwhile, Hooters of America abruptly closed roughly 40 locations across the country that year. In 2025, the franchisor filed for bankruptcy and shut down 30 more restaurants. However, this gave the original founders a chance to reclaim the brand. That November, the original Hooters group announced it had finalized a deal to acquire 111 Hooters of America restaurants.
So we're looking at a situation where the very people who founded Hooters might end up being the ones who save it.
Their goal is to bring the company back to its roots, starting with the menu.
If you don't get the food right, you shouldn't be in the restaurant business.
I think the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see a return immediately of the butter-based ingredients that make those chicken wings so famous.
It's going to change the uniforms, make them more modest, repair the restaurants, and put better equipment in.
It's easy to get complacent, and so...
Hold up. Is that a pregnant girly? All right. I'm sorry, I hope she's pregnant. Wait, is she just...
More modest
ingredients that make those chicken wings so famous.
It's going to change the uniforms, make them...
Okay, I think she's pregnant. I don't think I'm... See, now I'm double guessing myself. But I think she's a pregnant girly, which is kind of interesting, like a pregnant Hooters girl. Hopefully she's pregnant and I just didn't make fun of some girl for being a little chubby.
More modest, repair the restaurants and put better equipment in.
I don't know
it's
now.
Easy to get complacent, and so we're going to clean up these stores, but then all of us need to up our game in getting our message out.
For it to rise again, Hooters will also have to repair its reputation.
It's really hard to turn a sinking ship.
I think that they just need to focus on the quality of the food and the quality of the Hooter girl. I think that could save
the quality of the Hooter girl. I don't know. I just don't like it.
After 4 decades, the question now is whether Hooters can rebrand to appeal to a new generation, and whether it can sell itself all over again.
They heard me preach marketing because we're a brand that was known for its marketing, and when you do it right, we're always known for it.
We all believe this brand is so resilient, and we're all ready to roll up our sleeves and do whatever we can.
We wear it proudly. I mean, I think you bleed orange.
Wait, chat says she probably makes more tips because she's pregnant. Stop. That's a thing. Some OnlyFans girls make more money when they get pregnant because people are disgusting.
Me believe all of this. He just has that way of making you believe it's going to work out. That's his thing. We're going to be world famous. You're going to be world famous. It was hard to buy back then, but damn if he wasn't right.
Yeah, I knew a sex worker who made more money on cam when she was pregnant. Ugh, so gross. Okay, I'll go ahead and link this in chat. Very interesting. Still not a fan. I'm not going to go to Hooters or support them, but I think it's interesting all the same. This chat says when you hear private equity, that means the business is cooked. Yeah, the private equity of it all, you know. This says family friendly, quotation marks. Yeah. At 17 minutes, they overemphasize the sexuality, and that's not what the brand is about at all. What's it about then, girl? Bro said family friendly. Yeah, these comments are hilarious. Yeah. Early in the video, the girl said she was making dancer money as Hooter waitress. I worked in restaurants for a decade in high school in my mid-20s. That was 20 years ago when I'd say 75% or more of the sales and tips were all in cash. If the business sold alcohol and the girl was young, pretty, with an outgoing personality, plus willing to be a little flirty, walking away $300 in tips for a 6-hour Friday, Saturday night shift was the norm. Damn. Not the exception. That's the thing. Plus, willing to be a little flirty. I think that's kind of the key point here. And then this builds an entitlement from the audience, for the customer base, which then leads to an uptick of possible sexual harassment, which is the problem, right? So I don't want, even with OnlyFans or anything else, if you're going into business thinking it's quick money, you're in a trap. It's a trap, okay? There's no such thing as quick money. Okay, so it's coming at the expense of something. Okay, if you are trying to run a business to make the most money possible, if you're just trying to get rich fast, it is coming at the expense of something. Something, the people, the product, something is fucked up,